meeting the PGA Tour era. For more on all of this, we say hello once again to Kira K. Dixon.
Well, hello, Damon. Of course, everything that you just mentioned is a huge hot topic for players, for Justin Thomas. It's a big emphasis on the broadcast, on the future of the product of the PGA Tour, especially when you think about the context of everything that's been happening with the PGA Tour over the last few years. And Charlie Hoffman touched on that in his memo to the players as well. For him, it was also a pace of play issue and the Aeon Swing 5 implementation, among other things. But both Justin Thomas and Charlie Hoffman serve on the Player Advisory Council, and I was able to catch up with Justin a little bit earlier today on the reaction that he's had since he put out that memo.
It's not too crazy. I think it's a lot of conversations and things that we all have behind the scenes. It's just, we talk about it amongst each other and don't necessarily act or do anything on it. I think that's the biggest thing is everybody wants the product better and the game better, just like you do, just like I do, the fans, everybody involved. And so, it's a slow process, but it is a process. And as long as we're all attempting to make the right moves and the right changes, then that's all we can do.
It just shows guys care, and we need to be all in this together. We all need to come together and figure this out. It can't be one or two guys doing it all. So I understand it. I understand guys are frustrated with everything that's gone on in the last couple of years, and hopefully we can all get together, agree that, hey, at the end of the day, we want to make the PGA Tour great for years to come, and let's find the best way to do that together.
So, in speaking with players this morning, a lot of folks echo the sentiments of Gary Woodland. I spoke with Joel Damon, and he said, you know what, we just all need to come together. This has to be a collective approach to how we solve this problem for the PGA Tour, especially when it comes to pace of play. He said we need to police ourselves, and we all need to get on the same page in order to make those improvements. And then when you think about the broadcast, I spoke with JT Poston, and he said, honestly, a few years ago, if you had asked me to do these types of interviews, to do the walk and talks, I would have been the first one to say, no, thanks, I'll pass. But I've educated myself a little bit more. I've realized that maybe there's a bit of misconception. I know that I'm not going to be asked huge philosophical questions in the middle of my round. I'm going to be asked about my game. I'm going to be asked about the strategy of the hole, and that's something I'm certainly more willing to do now. And another interesting conversation that I had, guys, a few weeks ago, I spoke with Matthew Pavon in a walk and talk at the Farmers Insurance Open, and I said, hey, Matthew, thank you so much for doing this. And he said, we're just used to doing this all the time on the DP World Tour. It's something that we do all the time. So as long as we can get this to be more of a conversation, more a part of the usual routine, then more players will be willing to step up and do it.
Kira K. Dixon, how the players are taking more ownership over their PGA Tour. And what a time we have here, Eamon. 48-year-old Charlie Hoffman, 31-year-old Justin Thomas, two players at different points in their career and different levels of the game. Does it tell you that these players are saying that the status quo, whatever it may be, is not good enough right now in 2025?
Yeah, that realization really does seem to not only have managed to sink in the locker room, but we're hearing them actually vocalize it, and in very different ways. I mean, JT's memo was very clearly approved by the tour, and it was very policy directed in terms of here is an action plan that we can take to improve this product. Charlie seemed more individualistic. At times it sounded a little bit like a list of grievances, not without merit as well, but fair play to him for actually putting it out there and creating this dialogue, because we are finally seem to be getting to a point where after 2, 3, 4 years of fans hearing nothing else but players tell them what they're entitled to, now fans are finding out, you know what, here's what you deserve. And hopefully these are the first steps toward improving the accessibility, not just for broadcast, but just in terms of fan interaction with the players. That has been sort of a disappointing aspect of the last few years, that it has been the perception of all take on the player side. Finally, we seem to be at least engaging in a conversation at what the players owe to the product that they're selling.
I found it interesting that Justin Thomas specifically speaks to other sports, watching college football or pro football, in the insight that he gains by listening to a coach talk about, what the defense has to do better in the second half, or how do we get the running game going, and that he would hope for some sort of equivalency on the PGA Tour, which is why he texted our good buddy Johnson Wagner a few weeks ago during the American Express to say, this is how I'm going to start attacking these holes. I don't care if I'm in the rough, if I'm far enough down the right side to attack a left pin, and that he thought that the viewers would find that information valuable.
And the first thing the players need to realize is if anyone's asking you a question, you're relevant. So at least be grateful that you're relevant, and at least try to add to the relevancy, because your sponsors aren't paying to put logos on your hat, on your chest, for you to stiff arm the opportunity for those logos to actually be exposed to a bigger audience. So it is in the commercial interest, even aside even the idea of professional courtesy, but it's in the commercial interest of the players and their broader product to add context wherever they possibly can.
Yeah.